Yingning. It is said that the prince in Liaozhai, Zhu County, lost his father very early. He was very smart and passed the examination as a scholar at the age of 14. His mother loved him very much and would not let him play in the wild. Prince Fu first engaged the daughter of the Shao family as his wife, but she died before they could get married, so he never got married. Once, during the Lantern Festival, the prince invited Wu Sheng, the son of his uncle's family, to go out and play. As soon as the two of them walked outside the village, a servant came from the uncle's house and called Wu Sheng away. The prince noticed that there were many women wandering around, so he took advantage of the pleasure and wandered around alone. I saw a girl walking over with a maid, holding a plum blossom in her hand. The girl was extremely gorgeous and had a big smile on her face. Prince Fu stared at her blankly, his eyes unblinking, forgetting to worry. After the girl walked a few steps, she looked back at the maid and said, "This young man's eyes are as bright as a thief." Then she threw the flowers to the ground, laughed and walked away. Prince Fu picked up the flowers and felt melancholy for a long time, as if he had lost his soul, and walked back unhappy. When he returned home, he hid the flowers under his pillow, hung his head, and fell asleep without saying a word or eating. His mother was very worried, thinking that he was possessed by a demon, and invited monks and Taoist priests to exorcise the evil spirits. However, the prince became more seriously ill and soon lost weight. My mother invited the doctor again and prescribed medicine, but it still didn't work and she was in a daze all day long. His mother caressed him and asked him why he was ill, but he remained silent. Just as Wu Sheng arrived, the queen mother asked him to inquire about his son secretly. Wu Sheng came to the bed, and the prince saw him and shed tears. Wu Sheng came closer, said some comforting words, and gradually asked about the cause of his illness. The prince told the truth and asked him to find a solution for him. Wu Sheng smiled and said, "You are too crazy. What's the problem? I'll check on a woman for you. Since she's walking in the wild, she must not be a lady. If she hasn't been engaged yet, things will be fine. It can be done. Even if we get engaged, we can make it happen if we spend more money as gifts. As long as you recover from your illness, I will take care of it." The prince obeyed, with a smile on his face. Wu Sheng came out and told the queen mother that she had passed by, and then began to search around for the whereabouts of the girl. But despite searching in many ways, there is still no clue. The queen mother was greatly worried and could do nothing. The prince felt better after Wu Sheng left and was willing to eat a little. A few days later, Wu Sheng came again, and Wang Zaifu asked him how things were. Wu Sheng coaxed him and said, "I've found out who I thought she was. It turns out to be my aunt's daughter, or your aunt and cousin. We haven't gotten engaged yet, and although we are close relatives and it is not suitable for intermarriage, tell them the truth. It's possible." Prince Fu smiled happily and asked, "Where does she live?" Wu Sheng lied to him and said, "She lives in the southwest mountains, more than 30 miles away from here." The prince asked again and again, and Wu Sheng agreed and left. From then on, the prince's food intake increased day by day, and his health improved day by day. Touch the plum blossom under the pillow. Although it is withered, it has not withered. The prince fiddled with the flower branches attentively, as if the girl was right in front of him. After a long time, the prince was surprised that Wu Sheng would not come again, so he wrote an invitation and asked someone to invite him. Wu Sheng excused himself and refused to come. The prince was very angry and unhappy. His mother was worried that he would get sick again, so she hurriedly proposed marriage to him. But every time I discussed it with him, he shook his head and refused. He just looked forward to Wu Sheng's arrival every day. There has been no news from Wu Sheng, and Wang Zaifu is even more resentful. Then I thought about it. The woman's home is only 30 miles away from here. Why should she rely on others? So he tucked the plum blossom into his sleeve and went away alone without telling his family. The prince walked alone and had nowhere to ask for directions. He just looked at Nanshan. After walking about 30 miles, we have entered the mountains. I saw overlapping mountains and greenery everywhere, which was refreshing. It was quiet in the mountains, with no pedestrians, only the winding mountain roads extending silently into the depths of the mountains. From a distance, you can see the bottom of the valley, and there is a small village faintly visible among the flowers and trees. The prince then walked down the mountain and entered the village. There are not many houses in the village. They are all thatched huts, but they are very clean and tidy. The door of the house facing north is hidden among the weeping willows. The peach and apricot blossoms inside the wall are in luxuriant bloom, with a few bamboo trees in the middle. Wild birds are singing happily among the flowers. The prince thought it was someone's garden and did not dare to enter it rashly. Looking back, he saw a huge stone opposite the door, which was very smooth and clean, so he walked over and sat on it to rest. After a while, I heard a woman calling Xiao Rong in a long voice inside the wall. Her voice was charming and clear. Prince Fu was listening attentively when he saw a woman holding an apricot blossom in her hand, walking from east to west, lowering her head as she walked, ranging flowers on her head. As soon as he looked up and saw the prince's clothes, he stopped interfering and walked into the courtyard with a smile. When the prince took a closer look, he saw that it was the girl he met during the Lantern Festival. He was overjoyed, but he wanted to go and it had no reason. He wanted to call her aunt, but he was worried that he had never interacted with her and was afraid that he would make a mistake. There was no one to ask at the door. He was so anxious that he could not sit still and hesitated. From morning until the sun set, he was so eager to see that he even forgot about his hunger and thirst. From time to time, I saw a woman peeking out from the courtyard with half of her face, as if she was surprised that he didn't leave yet. Suddenly, an old lady walked out with a cane, looked at Wang Zaifu and said, "Where is this young man from? I heard he has been here since morning and has been here until now. What are you doing? Are you hungry?" Wang Zaifu hurriedly got up. He bowed and replied, "I'm here to visit relatives." The old lady was deaf and couldn't hear clearly, so Wang Zaifu said loudly again. And then the old lady asked, "What are your relatives' surnames?" Wang Zaifu couldn't answer. The old lady smiled and said, "How strange. Why are you visiting relatives if you don't even know their names? I think you, a young man, are also a nerd. Why don't you come home with me, have some simple food, have a bed at home, and stay for one night? When I get home tomorrow morning and ask about my last name, it won't be too late to visit my relatives again." Prince Fu happened to be hungry and wanted to eat something. Moreover, he could get close to the beauty when he went in, so he was very happy, so he followed the old lady into the yard. I saw the wide stone road in the courtyard, with red flowers on both sides of the road, and the flowers were scattered all over the road and stone steps. Walking along the zigzag white stone road to the west, another door opened, and the yard was full of bean sheds and melon stands. The old lady invited the guests into the room. She saw only pink white walls, as bright as a mirror. Outside the window was a lush crabapple tree, with flower branches stretching into the room through the window. The indoor tables, chairs and mattresses are all very clean. As soon as I sat down, I vaguely saw someone peering out of the window. The old lady shouted, "Xiao Rong, go cook quickly." A maid outside shouted in agreement. After sitting down, Wang Zaifu talked about his family background in detail. The old lady asked, "Is your grandfather's surname Wu?" Wang Zaifu replied, "Yes." The old lady said in surprise, "You turn out to be my nephew. Your mother is my sister. Over the years, because our family is very poor and there is no man to support the family, we have little contact with your family, and we gradually lost contact with her. My nephew has grown so big and I still don't know him." Wang Zaifu said, "I came here this time to visit my aunt, and I forgot my last name in a hurry." The old lady said, "My family name is Qin. I have never had children in my life. I only have one daughter, who was also born by a concubine. Her mother remarried and left her to be raised by me. She is not stupid, but she lacks lessons. She laughs and laughs all day long. Yes, I don't know how to worry. Later, I will ask her to come and meet you, and you two will get to know each other." Not long after, the maid brought rice and a cooked chicken. The old lady kept asking the prince to eat more. After eating, the maid put away the tableware, and the old lady ordered, "Go and call Ninggu." The maid agreed and went. After a long time, I heard faint laughter outside the door. The old lady shouted, "Yingning, your aunt and cousin are here." There were still sneers outside the door. The maid pushed her into the room, and she covered her mouth and kept laughing. The old lady said angrily, "There are guests here. How do you look like laughing and joking?" Yingning suppressed her laughter and stood, and the prince made a bow to her. The old lady said, "This prince is the child of your aunt's family. It's ridiculous that the whole family doesn't know him yet." The prince asked, "How old is my sister?" The old lady didn't understand his question. The prince asked again, and Yingning couldn't help but burst out laughing again. The old lady said to Wang Zaifu, "I said she needs less lessons, and you have seen it. She is 16 years old, stupid and crazy, and still acts like a child." The prince's suit said, "My sister is 1 year younger than me." The old lady said, "My nephew is already 17 years old." Was he born in the year of Zhengwu and born in the year of the horse? Wang Zaifu nodded in agreement. The old lady asked again, "Which family does my nephew-in-law belong to?" She replied, "Not yet." The old lady said, "Why is my nephew so talented and handsome yet not married at the age of 17? Yingning doesn't have a husband either, so you two are quite a match, but it's a pity that you are brothers-in-law." Prince Fu remained silent and just stared at Yingning. The maid whispered to Yingning, "My eyes are scorching, and my traitorous tone has not changed." Yingning laughed again after hearing this. She looked back at the maid and said, "Go and see if the peach blossoms are blooming." Then she stood up hurriedly and covered it with her sleeves. Zui hurried out with broken steps. As soon as he got outside the door, he burst out laughing. The old lady also stood up, called the maid to bring the quilt, and made the bed for the prince. Then he said to him, "It's not easy for my nephew to come here. Let's stay for 3 or 5 days, and then send you back slowly. If you find it too quiet and boring, there is a small garden behind the house where you can relax and read." The next day, when Wang Zaifu came to the back of the house, there was indeed a small garden of half an acre. The grass on the ground is as thin as felt, and bright poplar flowers are dotted in the grass. There are 3 thatched cottages, surrounded by flowers, plants and trees. As Prince Fu walked through the flowers, he suddenly heard a rustling sound coming from the tree. He looked up and saw that it was Yingning in the tree. When she saw the prince's uniform, she burst out laughing as if she was about to fall from the tree. The prince's suit hurriedly shouted, "Don't do this, be careful of falling." Yingning laughed as he climbed down. When he was about to reach the ground, he accidentally fell and stopped laughing. Wang Zaifu helped her up and squeezed her wrist secretly. Yingning laughed again, leaning against the tree and laughing so hard that she couldn't walk. It took a long time before she stopped. When Wang Zaifu waited for her to laugh enough, he took out the plum blossom from his sleeve and showed it to her. Yingning took it and said, "It's all dried up. Why keep it?" Wang Zaifu said, "This is what my sister threw away during the Lantern Festival. It was placed down, so it is preserved." Yingning asked, "What's the point of keeping it?" Wang Zaifu said, "To express the love and never forget. Since I met you on the Lantern Festival, I miss you every day. I got seriously ill and thought I wouldn't survive. I didn't expect to see you today. When it comes to you, please have mercy on me." Yingning said, "This is no big deal. We are close relatives. Why should we be stingy? When you go back, I will ask the old servant to fold a big bundle of flowers from the garden and carry it to you." Wang Zaifu said, "Are you stupid? Sister, why are you stupid? I don't love flowers. I love to take flowers. How can we, estranged relatives, talk about love?" Wang Zaifu said, "What do I mean? The love is not the love between relatives, but the love between husband and wife." Yingning asked in confusion, "Is there any difference?" Wang Zaifu said, "We sleep in the same bed at night." Yingning lowered his head and thought for a long time before saying, "I'm not used to sleeping with strangers." Before he finished speaking, the maid came over quietly, and the prince fled in panic. After a while, Wang Zaifu and Yingning went to the old lady's place together. The old lady asked, "Where have you been?" Yingning replied that we were talking together in the garden. The old lady said, The meal has been cooked for so long. What can't be finished? We have been talking for such a long time, Yingning said. Brother wants to sleep with me. Before she finished speaking, the prince was so embarrassed that he hurriedly glared at her. Yingning smiled slightly and said nothing. Fortunately, the old lady was deaf and didn't hear. She was still asking nagging questions, and the prince hurriedly used other words to cover it up. After a while, Wang Zifu scolded Yingning in a low voice. Yingning asked, "Shouldn't you have said what you just said?" Wang Zifu said, "That's disrespectful." Yingning said, "How can you carry your mother when you carry other people? Besides, sleeping is a common thing. What is there to be taboo about?" The prince hated her for not being enlightened, and he couldn't make her wake up. Just after dinner, someone at home brought 2 donkeys to see him. It turned out that Wang Zifu's mother started to become suspicious after seeing him go out and not come back for a long time. After searching the village several times, there was no trace of him, so he went to ask Wu Sheng. Wu Sheng remembered what he had said in the past, and asked the Queen Mother to send people to search for him in the southwest mountain village. "I searched several villages before I found this place." The prince walked out of the door and happened to meet him. The prince went back and told the old lady, and asked to take Yingning home with him. The old lady said fondly, "I have long wanted to see my sister, but I am old and can't walk far. It's great that you can take your cousin there and get to know her." So he called Yingning, and Yingning came with a smile. The old lady said, "What's the happy event? I can't smile enough. If I didn't smile, I would be a perfect person." She glared at her angrily. Then he said, "Your eldest brother is taking you to your aunt's house. Go and clean up quickly." After entertaining the guests from the Wang family for wine and dinner, the old lady sent them out and told Yingning, "Your aunt's family has a lot of land, which can feed the idle people. After you go, don't be too busy and come back. Learn some poetry and etiquette, so that you can serve your parents-in-law in the future. Just ask your aunt to find a good son-in-law for you." Wang Zifu and Yingning walked on the road together. When they reached the mountain col, looking back, they could vaguely see the old lady leaning on the door and looking this way. After returning home, Wang Zifu's mother saw her son bringing a beautiful girl and asked in surprise who it was. Wang Zifu replied that she was her aunt's daughter. The mother said, "What Wu Sheng told you in the past was all lies. I don't have a sister, so where did I get my niece?" She asked Yingning again. Yingning said, "I was not born to my current mother. My father's surname was Qin. When he died, I was still in my arms and didn't remember anything." Her mother said, "It's true that I have a sister who married someone named Qin, but she has been dead for a long time. How can she still be alive?" She then asked Yingning what her mother looked like now and the marks on her body. All consistent, the mother was suspicious and said, "She looks like my sister. But she has been dead for many years. How could she still be alive?" Just as she was doubting, Wu Sheng came, and Yingning hurriedly hid in the inner room. Wu Sheng asked why and was at a loss. After a long time, he suddenly asked, "Is this woman's name Yingning?" Wang Zifu said yes. Wu Sheng kept saying strange things. Asked what happened to him, Wu Sheng said, "After the aunt I married to the Qin family passed away, my uncle, who was single, was fascinated by the fox, fell ill and died. The fox gave birth to a daughter named Yingning. She was sleeping on the bed at the time, and the family members I have seen them all. After my uncle passed away, the fox still came often. Later, he asked the heavenly master to put a talisman on the wall, and the fox took his daughter away. Could this woman be the girl born to the fox?" The 3 of them were all suspicious. The room was full of laughter, filled with Yingning's laughter. His mother said, "This girl is too stupid." Wu Sheng asked to see her. When her mother walked into the house, Yingning was still laughing and ignoring her. Her mother urged her to go out to meet the guests, so she tried her best to suppress her laughter. She faced the wall and endured it for a while before walking out of the house. As soon as he saluted, he turned around and ran into the house, laughing loudly, making everyone in the room laugh. Wu Sheng reported his courage and went to the southwest mountains to see what was going on, and then acted as a matchmaker to propose a marriage. When I found the place where the small village was, I saw that all the houses were gone and there were only scattered mountain flowers. Wu Sheng remembered that the place where Qin's aunt was buried seemed to be in this area, but the tomb was hidden and could not be identified, so he had to return with surprise and sigh. The Queen Mother suspected that Yingning was also a ghost, so she went in and told Yingning the results of Wu Sheng's search. Yingning was not afraid at all. The Queen Mother also pitied her for not having a home, but Yingning was not sad at all. She just laughed naively all day, and everyone was happy. Can't figure her out, the Queen Mother asked her to live with her little daughter. Yingning came to greet me every morning, and her needlework was extremely exquisite. It's just funny and no one can help it. Although her smile is wild, it does not detract from her beauty. Everyone loves to see her smile. The neighbor's girl and daughter-in-law are vying to make friends with her. The Queen Mother chose a good day to marry her son to Yingning, but she was still afraid that Yingning was a ghost. Once, the Queen Mother secretly observed Yingning under the sun and saw that her shadow was the same as that of a normal person. On the auspicious day, the Queen Mother asked Yingning to put on gorgeous clothes and perform bridal rituals. Yingning laughed so hard that she couldn't straighten up, so she had to give up. Because of her stupidity, the prince was afraid that she would reveal the secrets of the room. But Yingning was very secretive and refused to say a word to outsiders. Whenever the Queen Mother is angry or sad, Yingning comes and resolves it with a smile. Sometimes the slaves made mistakes and were afraid of being whipped. They always asked Yingning to go to the mother's room to talk first. And then the slaves went to see the Queen Mother, and they were always exempted from punishment. Yingning loved flowers and became obsessed with them. She visited her relatives' houses to find good ones, and even secretly pawned gold hairpins and jewelry to buy flowers. Within a few months, the courtyard was filled with flowers. There is a woody tree behind the yard, next to the west neighbor's house. Yingning often climbed up the tree, picked flowers, and put them on her head to play with. Every time her mother-in-law met her, she always scolded her, but Yingning still didn't change her mind. One day, while Yingning was climbing a tree again, she was seen by the son of her neighbor to the west. Seeing her beauty, she neighbor couldn't help but be fascinated. Yingning didn't shy away and even smiled. She neighbor thought she was attracted to him and acted even more wildly. Yingning pointed to the wall and walked away with a smile. The neighbor in the west thought it was pointing him to a date place and was overjoyed. In the evening, the neighbor from the west went to the place pointed out by Yingning. Sure enough, he saw Yingning there, so he rushed up and hugged her. Suddenly, he felt as if his lower body had been stabbed by an awl. The pain was piercing his heart and lungs. He screamed loudly and fell to the ground. A closer look revealed that where Yingning was. It turned out to be a dead wood pile lying next to the wall. The place where he handed over just now was a hole in the pile that was soaked by water. His father heard the cry and hurried over to ask. The son just moaned and said nothing. The wife came and told the truth. He lit a lamp and shined a light into the hole, and saw a huge scorpion inside, like a small crab. The old man chopped up the wooden stake, caught the scorpion and killed it. He carried his son home and died in the middle of the night. The old man complained to the government about the prince's clothes and exposed Yingning as a monster. The county magistrate had always admired Wang Zifu's talent and knew that he was an honest and kind scholar. He thought that the old man had made a false accusation and wanted to beat him with a stick. Thanks to the prince's plea, the county magistrate spared him the beating and drove the old man out of the hall. The mother-in-law said to Yingning, "You are so crazy as usual. I knew you would be extremely happy and sad." Fortunately, the county magistrate and the gods did not involve us. If we encounter such a confused official, he will definitely arrest the daughter-in-law and confront her in court. At that time, how can I have the face to meet my relatives and neighbors? After hearing this, Yingning solemnly swore he will never laugh again in the future. My mother said, "There is no one who doesn't smile. It just depends on the time." But Yingning stopped laughing from then on. Sometimes she would tease her intentionally, but she wouldn't laugh either. But she didn't look sad either. One night, Yingning suddenly started crying in front of the prince's uniform. Prince Fu was very surprised. Yingning choked and said, In the past. Because I had only known you for a short time, I was afraid of shocking you when I spoke. Now my mother-in-law and you treat me with great love and affection. And there is no second thought, so I will tell the truth. Is it okay? I was born from a fox. When my mother left, she entrusted me to my ghost mother. We have been together for more than 10 years before we are here today. I have no brothers, so the only one I can rely on is you. My ghost mother is lonely. The earth lives in the mountains and underground. No one pities her, and she is buried with my father. She is also hated by Juquan. If you don't mind the trouble and expense and let the people underground eliminate their sorrow, then those who raise girls in the world will. Maybe I can no longer bear to drown or abandon the girl. Wang Zifu agreed, but he was worried that the grave would be lost in the grass and difficult to find. Yingning said there was no need to worry. On the agreed day, Wang Zifu and Yingning drove the coffin in their car. Yingning pointed to the grave in a patch of grass. After digging, he found the old lady's body, which was not yet rotten. Yingning caressed the body and cried sadly. Prince Fa pulled the body back, found Qin's grave, and buried them together. That night, Wang Zifu dreamed that the old lady came to thank him. When he woke up, he told Yingning about it. Yingning said, I saw her last night and asked her not to scare you. The prince regretted not retaining her. Yingning said, she is a ghost. There are many living people here and the young energy is strong. How can she live for a long time? Wang Zifu asked about Zhao Rong again, and Yingning said, she is also a fox, the smartest, and is the daughter of my fox mother. She took care of me and often brought me food to feed me, so I always miss her. I asked my ghost mother last night, and she said she was married. From then on, every year during the cold meal, the prince and his wife would go to the Qin family cemetery to pay homage and sweep without interruption. A year later, Yingning gave birth to a son. When he was still in his arms, he was not afraid of strangers and smiled when he saw people. He was really like his mother.
Alright, this story has come to an end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.